You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars and Locked On Coogs your first listen of the day. Jake Hatch, Parker Ainsworth along for the ride here on this Friday. All right, so Parker, the Houston Cougars ranked 14th in the country, and BYU heads down to the Fertitta Center. Did I pronounce that right? Is it the Fertitta Center or Fertitta?
Fertitta. He's a restaurant mogul and entertainment mogul. He also owns the Rockets for folks that are in NBA basketball. He's Mr. Houston in a lot of ways.
Tillman Fertitta. Okay, there we go. And I knew of his renown because he's involved in everything, it feels like, there in Houston. But this is a big matchup, a big early season matchup here in the Big 12 Conference, because BYU is kind of that plucky upstart program. And I say that in the sense because Kevin Young, BYU finished 5th in the conference last year, lose their head coach, and Parker for about a week there was like, oh boy, what's BYU going to do? Well, all they did is go and hire Kevin Young, and he's essentially just had the Midas touch with everything. Landon top-rated recruits like A.J. DeBonsa, bringing in Egor Demin, who looks like he's a top 5 pick in next year's NBA draft. There's a lot to look forward to with this matchup, but Houston, man, they're a really, really wily veteran squad, and Kelvin Sampson's among the best when it comes to the college basketball coaching ranks. What are the chances that Kelvin Sampson says, hey, Kevin, you may be doing some good things here, but you got a lot to learn when it comes to this matchup with the Coogs versus the Cougs?
Well, I would first start off, I guess, with that Kelvin has expressed that BYU is a very good program. Like, he has said that throughout the week, and he is not taking them lightly by any stretch. You mentioned that he came for the NBA ranks. Kevin Young did. The Suns, the Sixers, and I guess some like smaller level, like G League kind of stuff before that. And his pro resume obviously helped them get Demin and then DeBansa for next year very, very quickly, right? That the deal with basketball is there's 5 guys on the court, so one makes a real big difference. Houston's biggest thing that you mentioned is veteran guys returning. Of their 8-man rotation last year, they returned 7. The one they did not was Big 12 Player of the Year Jamal Shead. So obviously it's a pretty big hole to fill, and they've had trouble with that in a couple of close contests early. But playing at home with veteran leadership, J'Wan Roberts, L.J. Cryer. It sounds like Emmanuel Sharp's kind of playing through some ankle, lower leg stuff. But honestly, it's a really, really talented roster that won the regular season by 2 games last year in the Big 12. Name the game is defense, so it now make it ugly. BYU, from what I've been watching, Jake, is kind of the opposite of that. That was my episode on Thursday. I was talking about how this is a styles makes fights and styles clash here kind of thing. What have you enjoyed, I'll ask positively, about the first half year of Kevin Young?
Well, the fact that he's been very innovative with his offenses. Now, Egor Demin, who he's kind of the freshman sensation, a 6'9" playmaking guard. He's been out for a month until the Arizona State game. He had missed almost an entire month's worth of games, and he looked very much like a guy who needed some time to get back into game shape with that layoff. But the fun part about this is without him, all Kevin Young has done is essentially say, hey, next man up. And they have been very good about retooling the offense on the fly to feature their best player, whoever it might be on the court at the time. We just saw on Tuesday night in a blowout, Tuesday afternoon, I should say, in a blowout of Arizona State, Richie Saunders goes for a career-high 30 points, Parker. And John Rothstein has been very quick to call this guy like the ultimate glue guy. And he said he may be shedding that glue guy moniker because he's become an offensive force for BYU. So that's the thing, is the offense has come a long way, but the defense has made strides as well. They lost at Providence in that Big 12, Big East challenge game. They went to Rhode Island and got blitzed pretty heavily by Providence in that game. And essentially since then, Parker, they've been much better defensively, but I'm telling you, Arizona State and everybody else that they faced in the lead up to this game against Houston, they pale in comparison of what Houston, I think, brings to the table. Because you mentioned the fact they bring 7 of the 8 guys of that rotation come back. They beat BYU in Provo 75-68 last January. So I think this is a BYU squad that the veteran players like Dallin Hall and Richie Saunders remember what happened a year ago in Provo, but they also understand that this is a massive, massive challenge. Because I want your thought on this. It sure feels like Kelvin Sampson is going to have something schemed up to make sure that guys like Egor Demin, Richie Saunders, Cannon Catchings, kind of the offensive weapons that BYU has. He's going to make sure that they have every opportunity to get locked up by the Houston Cougars.
Yeah, and I've been trying to take guesses at a dartboard as far as which one it will be that he shuts down, but there'll be one of them he essentially removes from the game. And it's nothing personal against Kevin Young or anyone. His deal is much like Bill Belichick at the NFL level. It's like, I'm going to take what you do best. I'm going to take one of your guys, and I'm going to make you beat me with somebody else, right? And if that's Demin, if that's Catching, I thought Cannon Catching shot the ball pretty well as well. Like, if taking one of those guys away and say, okay, one hand's tied behind your back. Now, can you do it still? And if halftime's different, we'll adjust and change how we're doing it then. I don't know which of those three-headed monster people you're talking about he's going to do it with. The hardest to me is Demin, because as an assist guy, as a creative guy, you can't keep him from passing the ball. I don't know how you do that with him.
And that's a very good point, because if I were trying to scheme up to defend BYU, I would deny Demin every opportunity to facilitate, because as you mentioned, he's become an elite facilitator. His shot is still not quite there. That's kind of the big question mark with him, is his shooting going to come around where he can be that true weapon on the perimeter? But you mentioned the fact that he can facilitate this BYU offense. If I was Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars, I would make every effort to deny him the ball and make sure that he does not facilitate, and essentially tell Richie Saunders, Cannon Catchings, Dallin Hall, any of the other players on the court for BYU, hey, if you guys end up being the weapon, yeah, we'll adjust as necessary, but we are not going to let Demin get us early.
So you mentioned you had a month without him. What did you think of the way offense flow? Because it flows very well with him running the point guard type of role as a forward. What did it look like you watch him every game, in your eye, without him on the floor?
It actually was okay, because here's the thing. Dallin Hall, who's the kind of the off guard, they play off each other, him and Egor Demin as the two ball handlers in this offense. Dallin Hall missed the early part of the season when Egor was really kind of at the peak of his powers early on this season. He had a toe injury that he was rehabbing from, speaking of Hall. And essentially when Egor went out, Dallin Hall had just come back, and he essentially stepped into that playmaking role and was quite adept at it. So the nice part is that they found options with both of those guys essentially being able to step in for one another. Now, can you get both of them together doing what they've been doing at different points this season, where they can be that two-headed monster? Because if they can do that, it's going to be very difficult to defend both of them, because their ability to facilitate, and more importantly, in the case of Hall, hit big shots and timely shots, could be a big key to BYU notching an upset potentially on Saturday.
I want to hear more about potential upsets, because they got one guy that's a high-energy guy that I really like on the BYU roster, and I think the matchup's going to be fun. But that, I feel like, sounds like the next time. So let's get there in a second.
Right. That's a nice tease. I like that. All right, we will delve into that next as this Locked On Cougars and Locked On Cougs crossover rolls on right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Rocket Money. Now it's the new year. Obviously, a lot of us have New Year's resolutions, and a lot of us with those New Year's resolutions want to save more money. Rocket Money can help you find subscriptions you may have forgotten about, that you're paying for twice or even 2 or 3 times more than that, to help you save money. All of us have those things that we just forgot about because you subscribed once, completely forgot about it. Rocket Money will search those out and help you track them down. The best part, it's like having a personal assistant for your finances. It is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It's a win-win-win all the way around. Brings everything together in one place, whether it's those subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this coming year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and saved over $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when they use all the premium features in the app. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions, reach your financial goals faster, and do it with our friends at Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon to get started. And one more time, just a reminder, check them out today at rocketmoney.com/lockedon.